Well, g'day curd nerds. G'day curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day curd nerds. Let me see, is everything working? Oh, yes, it is. Thank goodness for that. Holly, shush. Holly's just saw somebody at the door, so she's getting a bit anxious. But that's good. Holly, what are you doing? Come on, get your basket. Both of yous. Right. It's the beauty of live YouTube, I suppose. All right. Welcome to another Ask the Cheeseman. This is episode 125, and you can ask all your home cheese making questions. And fingers crossed, I shall be able to answer them for you. Alrighty, so we got lots of people on the chat, but first of all, shout out to all my financial members and patrons. Thank you very much for supporting the show. Kim and I really appreciate it month on month, and it really helps to keep the live streams coming at least once a week, and we'll go from there. But yeah, thank you very much. Shout outs today. We've got Ruth was a little bit early, and we'll get to her question in a minute first. But I don't think she can make it today, but she'll watch the replay. So, g'day, Ruth. Next cab off the rank was Aga. G'day, mate, all the way from, I think you're in Spain at the moment. Matthew, I think Matthew's in the Netherlands. Is my memory right today? We'll see. Patricia from Canada. She's already said that, but lovely to see you, Patricia, as always. Mad. I don't know who Mad is, but g'day. Bruce. G'day, Bruce. How are you? Celtic Sword, Robert, Kangamoo, Ambrose. Who else we got here? Jordan. G'day, Jordan. Larry, Deep South, Texas. G'day, Larry. Josh. Josh says he enjoys the shows from Israel. Thank you, Josh. Where else? Mike. G'day, Mike. We'll get to your question in a minute. Bob and Barb. G'day, Bob and Barb. And congratulations on your 40th wedding anniversary. Annette. G'day, Annette. And we've got Chris. Who else we got? Another Matt. Jeffrey. Oh, goodness me. So many people. We've got Kim, of course. G'day, Kim. My lovely wife. Manel. G'day, Manel. Karen. G'day, Karen. Who else we got? David. Occult Nino. Where else? Marco, Bob, and Bill. All right, that'll and Namil, I think that's how we say it, from Sweden. All right, we'll get on to some of the questions. Before we do, though, I have a question for you, and hopefully I'll get to it really quick. I'm going to make cheese this weekend. Now, out of all the cheeses that I've made, I'm well, not stuck for just suggestions. I've got hundreds of suggestions, but I'm just wondering what cheese that I haven't made already would you like me to make if I can get a recipe. So throw your suggestions in the not the comments, into the chat, and give that a go. That'll be great if you get to help me out there. Video this weekend coming up that's in post-production. I'm struggling to find time to get it done, but I'll get it done, is the mead video, which is fully complete and tasted excellent. And I've got two styles of camembert under production using the made by cow raw milk. So they're slowly maturing in the one of them's in the cheese cave, the stabilized paste one. That's taking a little bit longer, as that does. And the traditional style Normandy camembert is in the fridge, all wrapped up. Kim and I had a go. I did too, and she did too. And you'll see in the video who did the worst effort of wrapping up the cheese. Anyway, we'll get to it. All right. Yeah. So let's get on with the questions. So first one was from Ruth, $20 super chat. Thank you very much for your kind super chat there, Ruth. She says, hello, Gavin and Kim and World Curd Nerds. Can't come today again. I added 140 degree water, which is 60 Celsius, if I remember rightly, to my Jarlsberg, and it jumped to 114 instead of 100. Yikes. Stirred with the heat off for 30 minutes anyway. What will happen to it? Thanks. It should have cooled down, but what you could have done is, I don't know what happened. Maybe your thermometer's not quite right or something like that. I don't know. Wasn't there, couldn't see what happened and what the two temperatures were. If the temperature of your curds was a little bit higher than it should have been, then obviously the resultant temperature of the two waters, it'll be higher. What you can do is just add cold water. It's no big deal. Cold water, adding a bit of cold water. If the temperature's too high when you're washing the curds, just put a bit of cold water in, and it'll bring the temperature down to what you're after. I don't think it would have hurt it, really. I think it'll still turn out okay. Also, Ruth goes on to say that we changed clocks on the 3rd of November. I'm confused. Americans have their dates back to front. 3rd of November. Yeah, okay, I'll be back. All right, that's great. Fantastic. Thank you, Ruth. And I think most of Europe and the UK will be back, but because we'll be in the late evening for them. So that's good. Aga says hello, I think. That's, yep, cool. Where's the next question? Let's have a look. Bruce has got snow. That's a bit early for snow, I suppose, but anyway. Matthew says, what is a good cheese to make for a natural rind? Well, Matthew, my first natural rind cheese was Caerphilly, and it turned out very well. It did crack a little bit, but that's because the humidity was really low. I just kept it on the shelf in the cheese fridge. What I should have done was keep it in a ripening box in the cheese fridge, keep the humidity up just a little bit, and it forms a lovely natural rind within about 3 weeks, and it's ready to eat. So for a very first natural rind cheese, you can't do better than Caerphilly. So try that out. Now, just a note on the Caerphilly video that I've got on the channel. Some record company from some unknown God knows where had decided to copyright strike it. So they have decided to take all the revenue for that video. And I've disputed it because I use royalty-free music, so I don't know where they think they got their music from. So I've put in a dispute for that, and hopefully the money will come back from any ads that get shown on that video. Bit of a pain in the bottom. Now, if it doesn't, what I'll be doing is deleting the video, because I'm not giving money for nothing and your chicks for free for some record company that think they own the record. So I will remake Caerphilly if worse comes to worse, and I'll put it up there and use royalty-free music from the company that I get it from now. Anyway, moving right along. Aga says, Gav must have started these 30 minutes early, only 23:30 here, and must have still have a tinny of beer to consume. No, well, daylight savings did start here early in Australia, so it should be an hour earlier, if anything. Mike says, hi, Gavin. This is one of your cheese nerd followers. Thanks, Mike. I was wondering why most cheese recipes call for dissolving powders such as citric acid, rennet, lipase in water. Why not simply use milk? Right, there's a reason for that. And that's because water is non-reactive, usually, for most things. Milk is not. So if you add the citric acid to the milk, it curdles it instantly. And therefore, when you add it to the rest of the milk, there's no reaction, or very little. When you add rennet to milk, it sets it. So you're going to have this block of milk sitting in your big pot of milk, so that won't work. And lipase, it starts lipolysis straight away, so it starts breaking down the fats in the milk. So it needs to be diluted in water. So very good question, Mike. Thank you very much, and hopefully I've answered them to your satisfaction. Next is Bob and Barb. Says, hi, Gavin. This is Bob. No questions today. Just wanted to say, keep up the good work. I'm on a road trip with my lovely wife, celebrating 40 years together, and congratulations. It's great milestone. And 40 years with anybody is obviously not a struggle. It's not a struggle. It's a pleasure. I know Kim and I have been married for, oh, God, let me get this right, please. 97, 22 years. Honey, you can tell me if I'm wrong. 22 years. Was it 23? No, it was 22. 97 we got married. It's all a pleasure. All a pleasure. Even the ups and downs. It's all good. Annette says, hi, Gavin and Kim. Finally made it on time. Lovely to see you here, Annette. Chris says, is size important in a cheese harp? I've seen a guy on TV make one from a cooling rack used for baking. He cut it to fit the pot and added a wooden handle on top. Could I do this for hard cheese? Chris, indeed you could. The physical size of the curd harp is no big issue. It's the cut sizes. So as long as it's about half an inch apart, the wires or the pieces of metal or what have you, as long as it's about half an inch apart, then you won't have too many problems. So it'll all be good. Matt says, you demand. Thanks, mate. Jeff says, or Jeffrey, sorry, I shouldn't abbreviate without asking permission. Hello, watch your videos all the time, but first time for a live stream. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you very much, Jeffrey, for turning up. I am actually in class now, so we'll ask my question and watch later. Okay. Do you have a question? Don't see one. Anyway, we'll move along. Matthew says, should I keep a natto and calcium chloride in the fridge? On the bottles I have, it doesn't mention it, but read in a cheese making book that I should. I do keep my annatto and my calcium chloride in the fridge. There's no real reason why you should, but I do keep some. They keep longer. I've been using the same calcium chloride bottle. Oh no, I topped it up the other day. I'd used the same batch of calcium chloride since 2009. It doesn't go off, but I just keep it in the fridge. It's just out of habit. Same, I keep it with a rennet, all three things. Okay, Kim's obviously there, which is fantastic. Manel says, in the last episode, I asked you about the ideal pH of milk for cheese making. You told me 6.8. If I can't get it, can I make cheese? If decrease or increase the pH in the milk, which should I do? Well, normal milk straight out of the cow, standardized milk is about 6.8. You pour it out of the carton, and I've tested it. So now raw milk may be a little bit different, because if it's been sitting at room temperature or fresh from the cow temperature for too long, it begins to acidify, and that's because all of the native lactic bacteria are present within the milk. So they will start working on the lactose, converting it to lactic acid. So when you do have raw milk, see if you can get it into cold storage as quick as you can, or start making cheese with it straight away. You shouldn't increase or decrease the pH using artificial means. You need the raw or the unadulterated milk, so don't add anything to it. So just start making it as quickly as you can from if you've got raw milk, Manel. Karen says, I've made your stout cheddar twice now, once with the stout, once without. I just cut the 4-month plain one. It slices well, texture is good, but it had a fair number of mechanical holes. Right, I had to write down. Hang on. Now I've lost it because I had to move. The stout soaked curds had trouble knitting together. I'm using raw milk. I cut the stir time by 10% and the culture / rennet by 5%. Any suggestions? Yes. Higher pressing weight. Whatever you can get on it, put it on there without the whey running cloudy. Then, sometimes cheddars need a lot more pressure than what we can actually give them physically as home cheese makers. But try and put some more weight on there and see what happens, Karen. because that's the only solution really. Or with the stout one, because it cools the curds down a bit, then you can possibly warm the stout up a little bit. It certainly won't help it. It's not all about the alcohol; it's about the flavour of the beer itself. So you could gently warm the stout so it's the same temperature. What's that, about 35 degrees Celsius as the curds will be when they come out of the whey, and that'll help that press a little bit better. But more pressure is what you need especially if you're getting mechanical holes. Okay. Blub Blub says, "G'day Gavin, my name is Tessa." G'day Tessa. Matt says, "Colby Jack." Colby Jack. All right. Yeah, there's a suggestion. Colby Jack, which is a combination of Colby and Monterey Jack. Don't forget Ruth's suggestions at the top. I reckon it'll be okay, but I'm no expert. Yes, I did that. Have you made jalapeno cheese, says Josh. Yes, indeed. And if Kim hasn't already put the link up, have you put the link up, Kim? No. Kim, can you put the link up for jalapeno cheddar for Josh? Christian says, "G'day, Gavin. Again, greetings from Germany. Guten Tag." I think I said that right. Josh also says, "Ghost pepper cheese." Ooh, that'd be a bit hot. It's not chili season here, so it'd be very hard to get my hands on some ghost peppers. Paul says, "Have you ever heard of munchie cheese?" Munchie cheese. It's a processed cheese that I love, but I can't find anywhere I live. Can you show how to make it? Munchie cheese. Never heard of it, but I'm sure the interwebs will have a picture of it somewhere. I'm not big on processed cheeses. I've made an American-style cheese, but all I do is simply add my own cheese and some sodium citrate and make it a little bit runnier. So I don't do the full-blown processed cheese on my videos. Manel says, "Can we replace heavy cream with fresh cream?" Yeah, it depends on how thick it is, Manel. But yeah, if you want to add some more fat into the milk for, say, Stilton or Camembert or double brie or triple brie, what have you, then yeah, you can use fresh cream, no problems at all. Long as it's not, well, actually, I was going to say, as long as it's not ultra pasteurized, but I've seen people use ultra pasteurized cream, and it seems to be okay as long as the milk is able to set okay and the milk's not ultra pasteurized itself. Fricky says smoked cheddar with walnuts. Well, that would take a while, but I am going to smoke some cheese. Smoked cheddar. Walnuts. Wow, let's have a look. Okay. Patricia says, "Fun fact, Med pairs really well with sage derby." Mead, right. With sage, that's nice. Do I have any sage derby left? Not sure. I'd have to have a look in the cheese fridge. Matt said, "I would love to see you make Colby Jack or a cheese with nuts in it." Okay. All right, I've written those down. Thank you very much, Matt. Larry says Parano, if you can find a recipe. Parano. Have a look. We'll see what we can do. Bruce says Karun. Oh, goodness me. I don't even know half these cheeses, but that's the good thing about making cheeses. It's all a learning experience. Robin Bill says, "How is the best way to know when the curds are ready for making cheddar?" Okay, what I do, I don't know if it's Rob or Bill, but Rob and Bill, is what I do, I grab a handful of curds and I squeeze them at the end of the stirring period. And if they stay together, and you've seen it in a few videos, if they stay together and just lightly, and then you press it with your thumb and they split apart, then it's ready for pressing. That's the best way to know. If they don't stay together, then they're not ready. Stir some more. Ambrose says, "Could you make Elisa Craig cheese from Scotland?" Okay, might be a variation of something, but I'll have a look. All right, we'll have a look at that. Aga says, "Seriously, if someone does a copyright complaint, then they get your YouTube revenue, even during the complaint process." Yes, Aga, that is 100% correct, which is not fair at all. I should have some time to respond, you would think, but it didn't happen. Alrighty. Matthew says, I would love to see you make stinking bishop or pull. Oh, I can't even say that. St. Pierre cheese. Stinking. I'll write it down. Stinking bishop. I have been thinking about making the stinking bishop blue. I think it's a blue cheese, and it does stink a lot. Pouligny. I don't know how to say that, but St. Pierre. All right. Anyway, well, what's the next question? Chris says, is it possible to store cheese at room temperature if it's waxed? How long would it stay good? No, you cannot store cheese at room temperature even if it's waxed. Just because it's waxed, that'll stop the mold getting to the cheese, but it won't stop the lactic bacteria, if there's any in there, or the enzymes from going crazy and making your cheese go very acidic. It's best if you're going to store it is in the fridge, lower temperature, but at a pinch, at least maturation temperature, which is about 13 Celsius. That's why most cheeses are stored in a cheese cave in ye oldie days. Anyway, I think it's Elena. That's how you say it, Elena. Glad to see you live. New subscriber and love your vids. Thanks, Elena. I want to get into cheese making, as here in Mexico, it's really hard to find any cheese, even cheddar. I have to get it in Costco only, which is very strange because Mexico makes some wonderful cheeses. And you would have seen, you may have seen some of them if you look through the YouTube, through my channel. You would have seen, Chihuahua, queso fresco. There would be also Oaxaca, which is the string cheese. There's also asadero, which is another Mexican cheese. I make quite a few different Mexican cheeses, but I'm surprised that you can't get any locally. Anyway, so get into it. Lots of cheeses. Quantized thallium, great name. Hi, Gavin. I'm making a Munster and not sure when I should start seeing a red colour from the bee linens. When does the colour normally show up? Usually after about 14 days of washing. It starts to go a little bit. The colour changes very subtly, and then all of a sudden, bang, it seems to change really quick. But about 14 days it should start. John says, and hello, John. Lovely to see you. A little bit late. Okay, online people talking about our EQM 4.5 happening last night in the Bay Area. Not sure what that is, but anyway. And he said thumbs up, which is great. I got 26 likes and 45 concurrent viewers. So hit that like button if you like the stream. That would be lovely. SC Wood says, I know you probably get this a lot, but are there any common hazardous molds you need to be aware of? Yes. So black mold is one to be avoided at all costs. As is pink mold. Pink mold is not good for your cheese either. So there's two molds you should avoid. And if you do get them on your cheese, then wipe them off with a simple brine solution. That will really help. Which is basically 1 cup of cool boiled water and 2 teaspoons of salt. Any salt will do. And just wipe the surface of the cheese and it gets rid of the mold. Now, if the mold keeps coming back, then probably be prudent to add a teaspoon of white vinegar to your simple brine solution, and that'll keep any molds at bay a little bit better. Anyway, Matthew says, we are heading into winter here in the Delph. The farm I get the raw milk from is feeding the cows more and more dry grass. What differences can I expect in the milk compared with summer grass feeding. You may see some late blowing in your cheeses, Matthew. If you can get your hands on some Lysolac, that'll help with that. Lysolac is a egg white derivative that is added to milk that the cows and goats and stuff are being fed dry grass or silage. Silage is worse, which is fermented grass. So some late blowing may happen. Thankfully, here in Australia, most of the cows are fed green grass most of the year round, so we don't get too many of those problems in our milk. I have noticed it years ago, actually. I noticed it, and it doesn't happen so much anymore. Yeah, so get yourself some Lysolac from wherever you get your cheese supply. I don't have any. I can't get any here. I've looked high and low, even cheese suppliers, and they don't have Lysolac. But you only add the tiniest amount to 10 litres of milk. I think it's 0.3 of a gram, which is nothing, about the weight of a long curly hair. Jordan says, hello, what does everybody use to heat and reheat and store your cheese wax? Well, Jordan, what I use is a bowl, a stainless steel bowl, and I put that over just a pot of water, and the steam heats the wax, so I don't directly heat the wax itself. So the wax temperature can only get to 100 degrees Celsius, thank goodness. I've seen people use slow cookers, and they heat the wax far too hot. It only needs to be between 75 and 90-ish. I don't really go up higher than 80. And then you dip your wax in it. So just a stainless steel bowl on top of a pot of water, and that works fine. For me, anyway. Others may have other tricks. And I just use a pastry brush. I do sell them in the shop. 1-inch pastry brushes with natural bristles. Don't use synthetic bristles because they tend to melt, as I found out too. Okay. Matthew says, an arto is basically the seeds fruit of the lipstick tree, so it's organic, needs to be stored cold like food. Calcium chloride is inorganic, so you can freeze it, heat it, stays the same. Yeah, it does. But I just keep them in the fridge because I can. Thanks, Kim, for that jalapeno cheddar link. That's fantastic. John says, made some cottage cheese and used the cold ice press method for getting the curds set right. Well done, mate. I'll get there eventually. Fricky says, Gavin, in construction we use calcium chloride to aerate the set of concrete. Too much will overheat the mix and it will crack. Will you get similar doses if you overdose cheese? Cheese is a little bit different than concrete, but mind you, some cheeses I've made have been a little bit like concrete. I think the first Parmesan I ever made was like concrete. No, what happens is if you add too much calcium chloride, you get a bitter cheese at maturation, so it doesn't crack it or anything. Jamie says, I'll follow on from that, Fricky. It's because we only use a 30% solution diluted in water, so it doesn't get a chance to react too much. Jamie says, aging a Havarti 3 weeks in rind, went a bit runny, and looks like it's infected with bee linen. Is it salvageable? I won't mind a stinky strong cheese. What to do, I think. Havartis are very soft. It looks like it's infected with bee linen. Well, convert it into a washed rind cheese. So start washing it every couple of days with a simple brine solution. And, the bee linens will spread, which is fantastic. And, you'll get a very nice cheese. It'll probably be a bit flat, as Havartis tend to do. I know my Havarti went a bit flat, but it tasted absolutely fantastic and like the real deal. Okay, Manel says, when I make crescenza with homogenized milk, it is affected on the curd. I'm not sure what you're saying there, mate. See if you can translate it a little bit differently. Where are we up to? Ah, where are we? I've lost my spot. Goodness me. Right, Karen had a question. I purchased my stout in a 32-ounce growler. That's a big bottle, but only two-thirds full. I loosened the cap and stood it in the sous vide tank. It was the same temperature as the curds. Well, must be just the pressure then. So if it's the same temperature as the curds, then I can't think of anything else except more weight, unfortunately, Karen. John says, getting better that the anniversary is correct, or you will be truly eating bee Linden's cheese in the doghouse for quite a while, and the dogs will be sleeping in your place. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Silver says, have you used food colouring to make colourful cheese? No, I haven't. I haven't used food colouring to make cheese. It's the chemicals in the food colouring, because they're not natural, they're artificial. I tend not to use them, and I don't know what effect they would have on the lactic bacteria. Anyway, Colt Nino says, I just found a goat farm close to me. What would you recommend for a beginner to start with? Well, first of all, Nino, I would make a nice sherbet, which is like a goat's milk cream cheese. So give that a go. Absolutely fantastic. Tastes amazing. And then any of the cheeses that I make, just make them with goat's milk. Just make sure you add some calcium chloride to the goat's milk, because it is sometimes notoriously difficult to set. Well, if yours will be raw, so I probably won't have that issue. But anyway, give it a go. Try any of the recipes; they'll all turn out fantastic. Silver says, "What is the most unique milk you've used to make cheese?" Uh, Ewe's milk, which is very difficult to get here in Australia. So sheep's milk, that's the most unique milk I've used, and it was absolutely fantastic to work with. Made a fantastic cheese. Kim says, Gavin was spot on, 22 years. So he doesn't have to sleep with the dogs tonight. Nice one. Starshot says, hey, Gavin, can you try to make Leyden cheese? It contains cumin seeds. Indeed, and Kim's put the link in there, which is fantastic. Thank you very much, Kim. I have made Leyden cheese, and it turned out lovely. I think Charlottenberg, I think, greetings from Germany. G'day, Charlottenberg. Silver says, how much herbs can you add to a cheese before it compromises the quality? Well, obviously, if you add more herbs than there are curds, then you're going to compromise the quality. I think usually no more than about 2 tablespoons in a 10-litre batch of cheese, and that's obviously when you're milling the curds. But I tend only a tablespoon, which is, what's that, a volume of about 15 to 20 millilitres. Okay. John says, Google Munchie cheese, mild white, chocolatey flavoured cheese. Okay, I'll have a look at that. Thanks, John. Starshot said, thanks, I should have looked for myself. There are many, many cheeses on the channel, so yeah, always check them out. Manel says, can you make liquid cheese, such as Kraft? Yes, indeed, Manel. If you have a look at the American cheese video that I made, you just need to add more water. So add the same amount of cheese to sodium citrate, and just add more water to the mix, and you'll get a liquidy, runny cheese. Shiala, I think it's how you say it. Shiala says, hi, Gavin. After a couple of tries, I was able to successfully make mozzarella cheese today. Can't wait to make other types of cheeses. Well done. Yeah, making quick mozzarella is not for the faint-hearted. It's not easy all the time. Kim says, John is talking about an earthquake, darling EQ. Earthquake. Right, earthquake. That's not good, John. Hopefully you survived that all right. The Omnivorous says, Gavin, is it possible to use a yogurt culture like a skier culture to produce a cheese? What style cheese would be good with that culture? Thanks. Yogurty cultures tend to, well, they're thermophilic cultures, so you can only make thermophilic style cheeses like Parmesan and Romano and Grana Padano, and any Alpine style cheese, anything that calls for a thermophilic style culture. However, it has an extra culture in there, which is Lactobacillus lactis bulgaris, which is a really high acidifier, and that's why yogurt has a more acidic taste than what cheese does. So that's what would happen to your cheese if you added it. Anyway, we've got a curd nerd light going off here, which means something. It means somebody's donated via Super Chat or asked a question. Okay, it's Colt Nino. Thank you for your $5 Super Chat, Nino. Is it possible to do a herb rind? Yeah, definitely. There's lots of cheeses that you can just put or press herbs into the rind before maturation. Usually they use herbs de Providence, which is basically woody style herbs like thyme, rosemary, oregano, those sorts of herbs, and they press them into the rind of the cheese, and they turn out very nice. So yeah, you can do a herb rind, no problems at all. Usually it tends to be the softer style cheeses, not your really hard pressed ones. Don't use any hard Italian ones to do it. But yeah, do a stir curd cheddar or something like that. Be absolutely perfect, no problems at all. So thanks for your super chat. Rightio. We answered the one about the yoga culture. Neilton, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Sorry, Gavin. I'm a omeprazole user. Sorry, and my stomach pH is higher than most. What your thoughts on using raw milk to produce cheese on these conditions? Thank you in advance. And my stomach pH is... I don't know what that is. Hang on, let me just do a quick Google. Esophageal acid reflux. Okay, yes. I've got that as well. Here in Australia, they call it GORD. All right, so, which is gastric esophageal reflux disorder or something. But my recommendation is take Nexium. That helps. Nexium is a proton pump inhibitor, which gets rid of all the acid in your stomach. Well, reduces it. Anyway, raw milk cheeses are probably the best for that condition if you have issues with digesting cheese. Also, maybe try some of the lactose-free cheeses that I've made on the channel, and that will probably help as well. But that's more for lactose intolerance than it is for acid. So fresh cheeses are the best because they have lower acidity than what, say, the longer aged cheeses. So yeah, that's probably the best. Okay. There was a question here about something late blowing. Ambrose says, "What is this late blowing that you refer to?" Yes, good question. All right, so if Kim can put up the link for the Edam taste test, if you can find that one, honey. There's a typical example of late blowing there. What happens is there's a build-up in the cheese of this stuff called butyric acid, and what it tends to do is makes a fracture in the cheese. So it doesn't matter. It looks like a mechanical hole, but it's not. It's a gas. This butyric acid produces this gas, more CO2, of course. And what happens is it creates these big cracks in the cheese. They're unsightly. It doesn't change the taste of the cheese at all. But you can get away. It's just for perfectionists, and just use this stuff called Lysolac, and it gets rid of that ever happening. It actually decreases butyric acid in the cheese. So Ambrose, that's what it is. So if Kim can put that link up for the Edam taste test, you'll see an example of late blowing. Perfectly fine to eat. Don't confuse that with early blown cheese, which is infected by, I think it's called coliform, which is a toxic bacteria that you don't want to eat. It's when during pressing cheese, if you're using raw milk or what have you, and it's been infected by this bacteria, it'll look like a sponge, and it's disgusting. And you need to throw it away. That's early blown. So late blown cheese can be eaten, early blown cheese cannot. Okay. Um, Silver says, what cheese do you find yourself making often? Good question. I don't make the same cheese very often. Um, because I'm trying to make all the cheeses. That's one of my missions in life. Make all the cheeses. I know I'm never going to get there, but I'll make all the cheeses. I've made 114 unique cheeses so far, if you have a look at the channel, using different recipes, which is nowhere near about the 2,500, I believe, different styles of cheeses throughout the world. So not even close, but we're getting there. I do like making camembert though. There's just a skill and an art to it, and sometimes I get it right, and sometimes I get it wrong. Yeah, camembert is just one of those cheeses I do like making. John says EQ equals earthquake. Yeah, thanks, mate. I'm a dork. 4.5 felt all around the entire Bay Area. I was sound asleep. Wake me up when it gets to 6 or 6.5. Okay, that's fine then. Matthew says, I'm glad you survived the great earthquake of 4.5 on the Richter scale. Matthew says, have you ever used the cheese paint you can get that has antifungal properties? I think it's quite common here in the Netherlands. You just paint the cheese rather than wax it. Yeah, it's a PVA-based, polyvinyl acetate-based paint. It's like a pretend wax. And yeah, I do see that a lot of the cheeses in the Netherlands are coated with them. You just peel that off before you eat it. And they use it instead of wax. I've never used it at all, but it is a very simple way of coating your cheese and preventing any fungal infections because it has an antifungal agent within the PVA stuff. And you can buy it in, I think it's about 500 milliliter jars, and you just put a paintbrush in and just paint your cheese with it. Make sure that you cover all the cracks, is all I recommend. I've even seen, if you look at baby bells, they're covered in the PVA coating and then they're waxed. So they wait for the PVA to set and then they wax them as well. Okay. I must have missed a question from somebody called Juan. No, there we are. Juan says, first of all, thank you for the time to answer our questions. Could you tell me why some blue cheese looks like brain-like? Is it contamination? No. I think you mean on the outside. And the omnivorous says, Juan, blue cheese looks brain-like due to the exterior culture growth pattern. That's just how the culture, or the mold in this case, particularly grows. And indeed, the omnivorous is correct. It does look like a wrinkly brain on the outside. Now, I tend to scrape that off before I serve the cheese up because it's quite overpowering, the rind. It's the insides that are good bits, and that's usually what I eat. Patricia says, did you notice on the Learn to Make Cheese Facebook page that Hammock Haven has posted a successful cottage cheese recipe? You might want to try it out. I know it's your nemesis cheese. There you go. There's a suggestion for the weekend as well. I'll check that out. Hammock Haven. I do follow that channel. It's great. Another fine cheese channel. Jacqueline says, hello, Gavin. Hello, Jacqueline. Patricia says, I use food colouring in my last Sage Derby. It worked fine. Oh, that's good to know. Thank you, Patricia. Joey says, hi, Gavin. Love the channel. Thank you, Joey. David says, what book are you using in some of your videos? There's a couple of books that I use to modify and I always modify the recipe. I don't like the way they do their recipes. One is 200 Easy Cheese Recipes by Deborah Ames Boys, which is out of print. They've got a new issue, and we're trying to get our hands on some for the shop. Sometimes I'll go to Ricky Carroll's 4th edition of Home Cheese Making. That's pretty good as well. Obviously, my own book, if I'm going to make my own recipes, which is Keep Calm and Make Cheese. You can find that at littlegreenworkshops.com.au. Yeah, so there's some of the books that I use. I got hundreds of books, as you can see. down there. There's bloody heaps, and over here. I got cheese books coming at me wazoo. It's everywhere. Okay. Where else? Oh, right. Manel said, right, he's reworded his question. When I make crescenza with homogenised milk, is it affected on the recipe? Yes. So homogenised milk will probably not as set as well. But give it a go. I used to make all my cheeses with pasteurised homogenised milk, Manel, and it worked. Not as good as pasteurised unhomogenised, obviously. It sets a better curd. But look, in a pinch, it'll work. Just use the same amount of rennet and calcium chloride when you use pasteurised homogenised milk, and you'll get a better curd set, and it'll work. It'll taste okay. Andrew says, "Hey Gavin, I'm itching to get making some cheese. What is a good cheese to make which doesn't require cheese cave setup? One you can get age in the normal kitchen fridge." Hopefully Kim's put the link. Yes, she has, which is the beginner's cheese list with no cheese cave. Go and check that out, Andrew. There are quite a few cheeses that you can make without having a cheese cave. You can use the normal kitchen fridge. Some of my favourites, just off the top of my head, are feta. Any style. I've done 3 feta videos on the channel using different styles of milk. What else? Bel Paese, absolutely fantastic cheese. So Bel Paese is a good one, and halloumi is one of my favourites. Doesn't even touch the fridge. I usually eat it after I've made it straight away. But yeah, fantastic. Jeffrey says, you can always use a special type of ferment added to your cheese. This is oh, sorry, hang on, I'll start again. Jeffrey says, you always use a special type of ferment added to your cheese. This is difficult for me to get. Is there a cheese I can make without it? Yeah, any of the fresh cheeses don't need cultures. Halloumi doesn't need starter culture, so you can make that cheese, no problems at all. But quite a few do. Let me think. Look, at a pinch, and there's some ways to get around it. You can use culture buttermilk as a aromatic mesophilic starter culture. You can also use yogurt as a thermophilic starter culture, but it gets a bit tangy because of that lactobacillus lactis vulgaris strain that makes it really acidic. So there's a couple of suggestions to replace mesophilic and thermophilic. But really, if you use raw milk, then you can make it without any special starter cultures, and you'll get a half-decent cheese as well, because there are lactic bacteria present within the raw milk. You'll just have to leave the raw milk for about 12 hours at room temperature for it to start to acidify, and then you can make cheese with it. Okay, Kevin says, I cannot find the 1927 silent film, please. Post the link again. I don't know if Kim will be able to find it, but Kevin, it's over on if you go to the YouTube channel page and go to the community tab, it's listed in the community tab. It's one of the posts in there, so you should be able to find it, Kevin. Alrighty, Paul says, what's the difference between a Swiss cheese and a lacy Swiss cheese? I don't know. Is this a joke? I don't know. I don't know. What is the difference between a Swiss cheese and a lacy Swiss cheese? Okay. Wynn says, G'day, Gavin. Love the videos. Watch every night before bed. Dedicated. Nice one, Wynn. Gonna attempt my first cheese this weekend. Well, thank you very much. And give it a go. Yeah, why not? Next question is from Gabrielle or Gabriel, one of the two. Hey, Gavin, in the Cheddar videos, you use a mesophilic culture. If I use raw milk to do the cheese, do I need to use the culture? Yeah, you can get away with it, mate. Like I said, if you're using raw milk, acidify for about 12 hours and then go for it. All right, John says, antifungal paint question. If in America the small and giant puffball mushrooms, white phase, are the highest known antifungal property, mushroom bandage, wound powder, or a liquid medium? I don't know. We don't have those giant puffball things here. Never experimented with it, John. I'm sorry, mate. Never had a question like that either. No, don't know. The thing with the antifungal paint, the PVA stuff, it's like glue. So it's like, well, it is. It's like that PVA glue that you get, the white wood glue. And basically it dries clear on the cheese. Yeah, cool. Anyway, Mohammed says the cheese press in the market is yellow. Why is your, hang on, cheese press. Where did I get that word from? The cheddar cheese in the market is yellow. Why is your cheddar cheese? Why your cheddar cheese is white? I don't think I've ever made a white cheddar ever. My cheddar has annatto added to it, which is a native berry of South America. Comes from some bush, the lipstick bush, apparently. So I read before. No, the cheddar cheese in the market is yellow because they add annatto, and so do I. Cheeses that I don't add annatto to aren't basically cheddar cheeses. Anyway, Sue Tuss says, Gavin, which cheese is better to make with UHT milk or homogenised milk? With UHT milk, you won't be able to make any cheese except maybe sweet ricotta. That'll be the only thing, and you'll have to add heaps of acid to it, and it won't taste very nice. UHT milk or ultra heat treated milk is bad for cheese making. You cannot set a proper curd with rennet anyway. It'll be sloppy or it won't set at all. Pasteurized homogenized milk is a different kettle of fish. As long as it hasn't been ultra heat treated or ultra pasteurized, then you will be able to set a curd with it, but you need to add calcium chloride, which is just a liquid salt, which adds back calcium into the milk after the heat treatment. So, yes, any cheese, you can make them, any of them, but like I said, UHT, you'll be struggling even to make ricotta. The omnivorous says, my skier culture has both thermophilic and Bulgaris cultures, among a few others. My current idea is to do a Parmesan-style cheese and see how the flavour profile turns out. Yep, we'll give it a go. Like I said, it will be more acidic than normal. And yeah, my skier culture is the same. It has thermophilic and Bulgaris cultures added to it. Okay, Jim says, G'day, Gavin and Kim again. I'll have to catch the full stream later. Got to get used to the time change down under. Thanks, Jim. Lovely to see you here, mate. What's that? IA Ritter Productions. What's your favourite cheese? All the cheeses are my favourite cheese. Wouldn't have a cheese channel if I didn't like them all. So, yeah, there's no favourite. Just, I like them all. Ali says hi. Hi, Ali. John says Lacy Swiss cheese is American Swiss with small holes. Lacy has big holes and looks like lace. It's supposedly a healthier cheese. Find that hard to believe, but anyway, all cheese is healthy as far as I'm concerned. Everything in moderation. What do you reckon, curd nerds? Yeah, indeed. Okay, we're coming up to 23 minutes past, and I've got another question for you. Now, I've been, would have noticed I've been doing some compilation videos. So I've done the full cheddar compilation with, I don't know, there was like 5 or 6 videos in that. I've done the triple pepper jack compilation. If anybody's seen that, that's good. It's not doing as well as what the cheddar one did, but which I was a little bit surprised. But anyway, does anybody have any suggestions for further compilations? Now, I've got quite a few other videos that have multiple parts to it, as during the aging. So even if you want the normal cheese married up with the taste test, quite happy to do that. They don't take very long at all to edit, so I got no hassle with bumping them up and popping them up on YouTube. So any suggestions, give it a go, and yeah, just write it in the comments below. The chat, not the comments, the chat. And that'll be cool, and I'll get to making those. Yeah, so we'll go. All right. But thank you, John and Paul, for those information about Lacy cheese. I'll go and check it out on YouTube. Matt says UHT works great for yogurt, but that's about it. Yeah, fair enough. John, Kevin, this is a Dutch cheese making video. No need to translate the Dutch as it's self-explanatory. Kim says, I found this one on Roquefort making the old way. Oh, I'll go and have a look at that too, honey. Jay Kerr says, would you be able to make a horse cheese? Ancient Mongolians ate it for high protein. Jay Kerr, thank you for the suggestion, but it'd be very hard to get horse milk. There's no commercial horse milkeries around here, so no, I probably won't be able to make it unless somebody donates some horse milk to me. And if they do, I'll make a cheese out of it. Kim says, this one in the Netherlands, 1927 cheese making. There's a YouTube link. Thanks, honey. John says, compilation videos are great as they combine the entire process. Yes, herb cheese, Parmesan, Gouda. Yep, cool. Saltiness says, Settiness says, can you make manchego? Yes, I have already. And there's the curd nerd sign again. Somebody's done a super chat. Let's stop that flashing light. Occult Nino, fantastic. I'm waiting for the tools, but I've never been this excited to start a hobby. I have asked to do a shaped cheese. Can you do a mold making video? A shaped cheese mold making video. Yeah, so look, I'm not sure. I do have a mold video. Kim, if you can find the link for my cheese basket collection, then pop that up for Occult Nino, and that'll help you out. But thank you so much for your kind $5 super chat. Okay, a manchego video link too, please, Kim, if you've got that. I know you've given me the wind up. We're close to finishing. Let's see, any other ones? The Omnivorous says, just want to say thank you so much for the information. Thanks for doing these live streams and making awesome videos. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Karen says, don't forget to hit the like button. Yes, please, if you can. That would be great. Patricia says, can the multi-video cheeses be put together? Yes, they can. I think farmhouse cheddar with green peppercorns is one. I'm not sure if I did a taste test on that one, Patricia. That was one of the very early ones. But I'm happy to do that cheese again because it is very, very nice. I think it's, yeah, all right. So, farmhouse cheddar. Peppercorns. All right, cool. I've got to go buy a tin of peppercorns, the French ones. Kevin says, compilation of the surface ripened cheeses, Camembert, Brie, etc. All right, yep, I'm doing that one now, actually, Kevin, with a Camembert I'm making from Made by Cow. It'll be from making all the way to taste test, so that'll have that in that video already. Chris B says, a compilation video of how to store different types of cheese after cutting. Yep, so storage is a good suggestion. Thank you, Chris. And Chris, I'll get back to your question that you sent me yesterday too, via email. Doing a Parmesan compilation would be probably get you a lot of views. Thanks, mate. I'd put that down. Is it possible to make cheese with bits of bacon? Yes, you can. You can put bacon bits as long as they're dried, not fresh bacon. Patricia says, I think there are 2 wax videos as well. Maybe they can be put together. All right, cool. Thank you so much for all the suggestions, both for the first question, which is which cheese this weekend. I've got a huge list there to go and have a look at. And compilation suggestions, thank you once again. All right, Kim's given me the wind up, of course. Lots of links there. Where are we? Don't forget to visit the store, littlegreenworkshops.com.au. Let's just go to the second desktop. There we go. There's our shop. That's where we sell all our stuff. If you want to go and check out any cheese making supplies, we got kits, molds, rennet, equipment, baskets galore, ingredients, some books, and of course my merch. And the latest merch is one I've just recently put up, which is, and I've just got the t-shirt, G'day Curd Nerds. Probably the first one I should have put up. All right, where am I about? Yeah, so if you want to get some merch, there's a merch shelf below. It's cheaper if you, obviously in the US, it's a little bit more expensive. The shipping is to Australia, but yeah, it's a supporting thing. So if you want to, that's great. What else we got? If you want to also support the channel, then you can hit the join button down below, wherever that is, down there somewhere. and or go to the links in the description to go to Patreon and support on a monthly basis. And thank you to all my current patrons and YouTube members. And Kim's put a whole bunch of stuff there, but anyway, no more questions. Thank you so much for watching the show. Without you guys and girls and curd nerds, there would be no show because I have to answer the questions. That's why it's called Ask the Cheeseman. But thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Hopefully, I don't know if Kim's said anything. Is there a show on Saturday, Kim? I'm not sure. I think there might be, but Kim can just confirm that in the chat. That would be wonderful. If it is, then I'll schedule it via the live stream scheduler thing, and you'll see it there. Anyway, thanks for watching, Curd Nerds, and I'll see you either Saturday or Wednesday. All right, bye-bye.